inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today we're talking about the inner critic, and we're talking about the inner critic with help from Jamie Cato, who I honorably had on my podcast. Amazing man, a very smart, intelligent man, who's written the book Insanely Gifted. Okay, now the inner critic is this universal, insidious voice that's ready to tell us that we're not good enough, that we're rubbish, that you can't do something. And it constantly demeans you, right? It's almost like a bully. And we can go the psychoanalytic route and ask ourselves, like, whose voice it was, right? Was it the voice of a bully from our past? Was it the voice of our parents? Was it the voice of a teacher we once had? Was it the voice of someone in media? Was it the voice of someone we hired, like a boss? It could be many voices that are disguising themselves as our inner critic when actually they're an external critic. So we have to notice that this is a toxic dominator of unconscious shaming. So what the exercise with the inner critic game is, basically what you're doing is you're welcoming the inner critic instead of shunning him or her away. You want to take a blank piece of paper and sit down, very meditative. Synchronize your hemispheres. And then once you feel like you're at a state where you're tapping into your unconscious mind, you want to start writing. But you're writing from the perspective of your inner critic. What are all the mean things that it says about you? What is it saying about you, essentially, right? So start talking to it. Okay, start talking to it. Write it in the first person where the inner critic is telling you that thing. So it'll be like, you're lazy. I can't believe that you can't get to places on time. You're worthless, right? So all this stuff, right? Start writing. Understand that this process can take you a few minutes to get started, right? So soften the body. Full body listening is not easy to get to. However, you want to get to the unconscious because that's where all the negative imagery and the negative storylines are stored, okay? After you've written down your thoughts without editing or without judgment, and you might even find it quite hilarious what your inner critic is saying about you, nevertheless, it's time to be your own parent and butler. Walk away from that thing, that activity, do some dance, some movements, process any stuck chi or energy centers in the body by just moving around, and then come back to the page. And now you have a script. Now you have a script with you, right, of what to say. It's like a monologue. And I want you to read this out loud, but in different ways. The first way you're going to try is like an over-exuberant porn star in the middle of the scene. Okay? Very funny. Just try that. Now try like a whiny, spoiled small child. Like, I don't know. Now try like an over-enthusiastic game show host. I can't believe you're so gosh dang lazy. Now try it like a drunk or a stoned person. Hey man, you're lazy, man. Now try it like a fascist dictator. And finally, try it like your mother or father would say it. Okay? Now we've been through this process, right? What we're doing is we're changing the scene, changing the voice so we're not so attached to what that voice is, essentially. We're giving it different characters. And this is actually what we do. It's called fragmentation. We give our own inner personalities different characters. And these characters are unconscious, so we're going to have to go on a search to understand which characters are there for us. Obviously, Jamie Cato gave us these examples, but we can also speak to ourselves like the good boy or the good girl. We can speak to ourselves like the peacemaker. We can speak to ourselves like some kind of a 1920s chef also. Like, it doesn't matter what we choose. but we know that these are different fragmented aspects of our personality, right? And you gotta embrace the foolishness, right? Without playfulness, it's impossible for wisdom to actually thrive. We're going to get too serious and rigid, and we're going to have our intellect cut at us, right? Rather than giving us the space. So it's important to be really playful as you do this. Now what you want to do is change the script into, instead of you, write I. So instead of saying you are lazy, you would write I am lazy. And I can't believe that I didn't get there on time. Now what you want to do is turn it into a question. So add a question mark at the end of that. I am lazy? Now what that's doing is basically you're attempting to ask yourself the Byron Katie questions, right? Is this true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? What is your reaction with that thought? And I believe the last one was, who would you be if you didn't have that thought? What kind of person would you be if you didn't have that inner critic thought, right? Now I want you to do some cognitive reframing after this and make the I am lazy and think of a coin flip, right, heads to tails. So you would write, instead of I am lazy, you write the opposite of that, which is I am hardworking. Okay? And go through and just try and find the opposite of this script. Now you want to ask yourself, where did I pick up this criticism? All right? Who sold me this reality? And understand that sometimes we pick up this internal critic because it protected us in a previous situation. Let's say that you were told as a child to keep it down when you were eating. So now as an adult you don't want to keep it down anymore. Like you just talk and talk every time at the dinner table. Now that's a very unconscious process, so you might not be aware of that. But through this process you can now start to analyze and realize that this is other people's stuff, or someone sold this reality to me and this is not me now. Right? So we're still living through our past programming in the now. I love this Bashar quote. Bashar is one of my favorites. He said, picking up other people's baggage is called stealing. Put that down. Right? And I think that's so powerful because we carry around a lot of emotional baggage with us, right? There's this show called Baggage as well, if you guys know. It's really hilarious. It's like a dating show. It's quite funny. So you want to ask yourself, how did it serve me to play this character? Right, so let's say that you read it and you invent a character for your inner critic. This is, by the way, something that I do in my coaching. I get people to really, really define what their inner critic looks like. And we go through a process of really deconstructing that voice in your head. Because it is a character, but now you want to understand, how does that character serve you in some way? How does it protect you? How is it a survival strategy or a coping mechanism? Then you want to try this process of writing with your dominant hand. Okay, this is inner child healing work as well. Writing with your dominant hand, and you want the character, the inner critic, to answer you. Okay, so basically you write, what's new with you? Is there anything that you need? Is there any activity that will take me towards my harmony right now, towards my well-being? You want to basically ask it questions and make it a bit of an interrogation. With the other hand, well, the childlike hand, you could say, the untrained hand, you write the answers. And again, you go through a similar meditative emptying, softening process to be able to tap into this trance state. This will reveal a lot of deep things about you and your inner critic. And it's going to be very powerful in switching around that charge of that energy, right? Because a lot of negative emotions have a strong charge, as well as positive emotions as well. A lot of projection can also be inspiration, right? A lot of people think that projection is just bad in general. No, projections can be positive. So you can see inspirational things around you as well, which might actually help you and not detract you from your goals, okay? So I hope this video helped you out today. Try this out. Do it with some friends. It might be fun, like a theater night. Instead of playing charades, you play the inner critic game. And, value your inner work. Okay? Get that book as well. It's really valuable. I completely, watered it down and kind of told you the way that I perceived it. But yeah, there's a whole process in that book, and something that Jamie also recommends is keeping a trigger journal, okay? A trigger journal. So you write down the date and the time and what triggered you, what was the thing that you reacted to. Once you notice the patterns, then you can actually rewire and change them around, okay? Have an amazing day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. See you next time.